Howdy everyone, Clawland here again with another episode of Left Hand Reviews, and today we're going to take a look at a little card game called RoboTroc. RoboTroc was released in 2012 by a French designer by the name of Cesar Menardi. It plays in about 15 to 30 minutes depending on the age and speed of the players, and will accommodate between 2 and 4 players. Essentially in RoboTroc, you're going to be laying out a junkyard of robot parts on the table, and one at a time each player will select a robot part from this junkyard. Once all the parts are picked up, players will then create their most valuable robot, or the robot that has the most power, which equals points, and then whoever has the most points wins. This is definitely a family-oriented game. It's definitely on the lighter side. So let's dive into it. I'll show you how it plays, and then I'll tell you what I think about it. And here we have the box for RoboTroc. It comes in your standard size card game box. It's of a nice solid quality, some nice artwork on it. We'll open it up, and the first thing that you'll notice, there are 4 rule sheets for 4 different languages. I believe they are Spanish, French, English, and German. Okay, then we have our stack of cards here. These are our RoboTroc cards. These are going to be divided into basically 2 types of cards per se, in the sense that we have our character cards where each player will select one of these characters. For some reason, they have a neat, funny little image on them, but that covers up the name. So, I don't know, maybe I'm dumb, but some of these I couldn't figure out what their name was actually supposed to be. I think this is probably Brainy. And these are double-sided, so for each color you have a male and a female persona. And then here we have all of the cards that are going to start off in our junkyard. And these are going to be various parts of the robot's bodies. Like this is a abdomen section here that's worth 5 power, has 5 power. These are bonus type cards, these green ones. This one's basically saying this one will give you 15 bonus points if your robot looks just like this guy, so you use the head, the body, and the legs of this red guy. Here we have a head, and this actually also denotes that this is a female robot part, which matters for some of the bonus cards. And then we also have the yellow cards here, which are weapons, and you can equip weapons to your robot as well. So these ninja stars here add a power of 1 to your robot. We have a lightsaber, and there's all sorts of different weapons in here, different robot types, and different ways to get bonuses. And then finally we have the little tiddlywinks here. You're going to be setting up all these cards in a giant grid and then pulling the cards up, but you need to maintain the grid. So what the designer has done is included these tiddlywinks that you place on the table in place of the cards, just so when there are fewer cards on the table, you maintain that grid. You don't have to guess how many spaces it is between cards, because these are in there as placeholders. So let me set up the board real quick and I'll show you how it plays. So I set the board up here. It's basically in a 5x9 grid, which places all 45 of the robot cards down on the table. Now, what you're going to do, let's assume that we have a 4-player game. So you're going to pick the person with the craziest ideas, according to the rule, to start first. And what they're going to do is take their piece and place it anywhere along the outside of the junkyard here. Alright, so let's say they place their card there. Okay, each player is going to do that, so let's just say this is what happens here. Forgive the angle here. I had to tilt the camera to get everything in the shot. So I know there's probably a little bit of a glare, but bear with me. So now, starting with the first player, you are going to move your card orthogonally or diagonally to an adjacent card in the junk shop and take that card. So if purple went first, they decide, okay, I'm going to move here. So they put their card there, they take this card, and it goes into their personal supply here. And now orange will go, and they'll say, okay, we're going to go here. And that goes into their personal supply. And it's going to go around. They may do this, and then this player does this. Now when it comes back to the first player again, they'll move orthogonally or diagonally again. They may say, okay, I want this bonus card, so they'll move here. Take this card. And now that's where these tiddlywinks come into play. You just mark that spot is part of the grid, but there's just nothing there. And eventually all these are going to be taken up, and there could be points, places, or times rather, when a player needs to move, but it's only these empty spaces around them. Well, that's too bad. You're only allowed to move one space at a time, so essentially you're going to be wasting a turn to say move here, everyone goes around, then move to a space that actually has a card that you can take, and so on. So that's kind of part of the strategy, is mapping yourself out a good route to go, maybe blocking off other players so they have to jump over empty spaces and thus not collect as many cards, etc. And again, what you're trying to do is collect robot parts. Once all the robot parts in the junk shop are collected, the round ends, or this phase of the game ends. So I fast forwarded here to the end of the round. All the cards in the junk shop have been taken, and I've just shown that here's each player and the cards that they took. Now the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to count how many weapons cards you collected during that first phase. So the blue player collected 2 weapons, red player collected 2, the purple player 1 weapon, and the orange player has 4 weapons. So you're going to kind of remember that number in the back of your mind. Then the next thing that happens is each player gets to select 4 cards, any 4 cards out of all the cards that they collected, to set aside, out of play, protected. Okay, and it doesn't matter what those are. They can be your weapons, they can be any of your robot parts, whatever. So let's say this person selects, these ones, this guy selects these ones, these ones, and these ones. Okay, whatever. Now what happens is, based on the number of weapons cards you collected, not the ones that you've held over, but the ones you collected that we just counted a second ago, you get to steal cards from the other players equal to the number of weapons that you originally had. So blue had 2 weapons, so they get to steal 2 cards from their opponents. They can steal any of the face-up cards. And you're going to go basically around in a circle, until everyone has stolen their total allotted number of cards. So purple might take this card. And now it's red, blue will take that card. Red might say, hey, give me that card back. So they've each stolen 1 card. And then he'll say, all right, give me this card. And it basically just goes back and forth. Once everybody has stolen the number of cards equal to the number of weapons, then that part of the round ends. And we move into the final round or phase, which is the building of your robots. So what you're going to do, take all the cards now, including the ones that you saved, okay, and you're going to go through and build the best possible robot that you can. Okay, let's just pick one of these here and make it simple. Here's the rules for the robots. You have to have a head, a body, and legs at a bare minimum. Okay? So here's a body, here's some legs. Now, of course, I'm not going to try to maximize this. I'm just going to build one so you see. So there you go, head, body, and legs. The power value is the number of points that you get. So right now this is 18 points. Each robot is allowed an unlimited number of bonus cards. So for example, I collected this bonus card. It says I get plus 10 points if my robot is not comprised of any of these parts. So I'm going to attach to this guy, but I can see, oh, I do have one of those parts. Alright, so maybe I will swap this body out for this body, because that's going to net me a few more points. Okay, I can attach this bonus card. This one just gives me 2 times the head value. So that turns that into an 8 instead of a 4. And so on and so on. So you attach as many of these cards, these bonus cards as you can. Then each robot may hold 1 weapon. So in this case, my little laser gun here is worth 6 points, as opposed to my chainsaw gun here that's clearly taken from Gears of War. Is only worth 3. Alright, so I'll attach this gun to him. Alright, let's say I cannot maybe do anything else. Okay, so that is my primary robot. Now, if you have additional sets of head, body, and legs, you can create secondary robots from those. But those are only worth 10 points per completed robot, period. and you cannot attach any bonuses to them or any weapons. They're just kind of supplemental points. Okay, so if this was my completed robot and I didn't have any supplemental secondary robots, I count the points, which is going to be 4 plus 3 is 7, 11, 21, 25, 31. So I get 31 points. We see what everybody else had. Whoever has the most points wins. As simple as that. Alright, RoboTroc. Okay, so as you can tell, this is clearly a very light game. This is definitely a family game. And because of that, it's not a game that I personally would bring to the table because I myself don't have a family and I don't do a lot of gaming with younger audiences. So that aside, I'm going to give you what I liked about this game, what I didn't. And actually, I'm going to start with what I didn't like. When you set all the cards out in that junkyard grid, you're hopping your card and taking cards, okay? I feel that may be good for people that have very good dexterity, which I have very good dexterity because I have double the dexterity in this hand, obviously, because I've had twice the practice. But this game is aimed, in my opinion, at families and younger children. And seeing them grabbing cards, I can see that whole grid just going kaboom, and the tiddlywinks, going everywhere, and this is going to be a total mess by trying to pick up the card, move it. If you're playing it on a hard table, trying to get your fingernails under the card. I don't really like that design aspect of it. If it was me, I would use little pawns, little meeples, and just move those from card to card, and I think that would eliminate that issue entirely. Again, I understand probably why the designer did it. It's one of their first games. I think they have maybe a couple others, but they're a small-time designer trying to keep costs down, and that's fine. I'm just saying that is how I would improve this game, is use some spare meeples or pawns or something. Another thing that is a little challenging is I think this game does not play very well with 2 players. I think at that point it takes the collecting of cards in the junkyard takes a little long. You end up each having 20, 22, 23 cards, and for younger audiences it may overwhelm them to try to create the best robot out of all these different cards. I think if you have 4 players, it goes a little bit quicker, and it makes it a little bit more manageable when you're actually building your robots. Also, the weapon mechanic. The designer does state in the rules that for younger audiences or people that may become frustrated, you can leave that part totally out, so there's no stealing of cards, and that's great. But of course, I personally like that. But some people may not. And the problem I have with it is you can only set aside 4 cards to save, which makes sense. If you set aside them all to save, then there's no point in this weapon mechanic. But you may set aside 4 cards. If you don't set aside, one of each body part, there's a possibility that somebody could use their weapons, or other combinations of people could use their weapons and take all your legs or all your bodies, and now you're stuck without being able to even create one robot. I don't really know how one would fix that. That's kind of just a fatal flaw in the design, is there is possible for serious screwage. That, okay, I'm just going to take everything. Or if somebody had, parts for several supplemental robots, it could end up that like I said, all of one part gets stolen, and they can no longer make those supplemental robots anymore, which can be very frustrating. And that's just by nature of the design of this game. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, because I just want to get that out of the way and talk about now what I like about the game. I think this is a good game for the family audience, being an adult or parent, grandparent, guardian, and younger children that want to get into gaming. I think that the artwork is very good. The card quality is very good. I think this game definitely promotes critical thinking skills. It's going to promote math skills. Being a child, you have to not only spatially map out this route that you want to use to collect these pieces, but you also need to factor in these bonus cards and how they're going to affect the other cards on the board that you take, and you're going to also have to react to what the other players take. So I really think it is a very good learning type game in the point-to-point movement, critical thinking, math, and some other basic game skills. And I really like that about this game. As a result, I would recommend this game to a family audience for younger children that the parents want something they can play with, and there is a fair amount of strategy to this game. So the nice thing about it is, yeah, it's not Eclipse. Okay, it doesn't have a serious amount of depth, but at least it's a game that you can play with your children and at least have fun doing it yourself as an adult, because there is several layers of strategy. And even though you may be overthinking it a lot more than the child's maybe just doing it to have fun, at least a parent is not going to get entirely bored playing this. And it plays quick enough that you can do it several times. RoboTroc by Cesar Minardi. Check it out. And thanks for watching.